What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Rawstocks. This is Rustic, and today we're going to be taking a look at some charts. We're going to look at where price came from, where price ended today, and where price is likely to head tomorrow and into the rest of the week. We're going to take a look at Tesla. We're going to take a look at SPY. We're going to take a look at QQQ. We're going to look at NVIDIA by request. We're going to take a look at AMD, and then we're going to look at Meta. If you guys ever have any requests, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'm happy to include some additional charts in some future videos by request only. So before we get going, don't forget to check out the links in the description below. There's a link to the Rawstocks trading Discord. It's free to join and be part of the community. Included with the free membership, you get access to a lot of different smart money concepts education. You get access to all the different chats, including SPY chat, Tesla chat, a general chat. We got a futures chat going that's free to join for those people who are attempting the trading combines or interested in futures funded trading or futures trading in general. And then for the premium members, we got a link to upgrade to premium. Again, it's only $25 a month, and there's a 50% off special running right now, making that membership only $12.50 for the first month. And in that, with the membership, you get premium chat, and you get access to our live book study, which we typically have been running on Sundays. You also get access to the Rawstocks premium custom callouts that are for options. Today we did, probably about $1,000 in closed trades that were all available in the callouts. So let's jump into the charts here. We got Tesla pulled up first. So what we had been talking about in yesterday's video is we had seen this double bottom here in the order block. We were looking for some kind of reaction. We've been talking about this trend line here in the last video that we've developed off the lows. We see we hit the order block, we hit the trend line. And what happened? We saw a nice bullish reaction today as we start to pop up. And we talked about this breaker block. So this breaker block comes from the market structure shift that occurred from the candle of the low of Monday, February 5th. Then when we traded back down through that, we changed our market structure. Now we're popping back up to test that block. So that block where that market structure shift occurred is a breaker block. We look for price to return to that breaker block and then see what it wants to do from there. Once it's inside that breaker block, it certainly could reject. It becomes a mitigation block where it mitigates price, and then price could fade off of that breaker block. We got right up to it, which is no surprise why we saw maybe some minor reaction to it. But I do anticipate into this week we're gonna break through into the inside of the breaker block, and I'm looking for 180 to be, not necessarily a major pivot point, but I am expecting a reaction at 180, pop back down, and then maybe run a test, could be this week, of 185, and then see what wants to happen. Tesla is notorious for just ripping out of nowhere. We've seen it so many times, and so we could get up past that 180, see a little rejection, and then break through. So we'll use our path tool to see what that looks like. Maybe tomorrow, pop back up to 180, we come back down. Maybe tomorrow or the following day, we run a test on that 185. If we break through, we have a giant daily fair value gap here that runs us all the way up to almost 200, right? So we could see price just go ripping through that, and then continue higher. Now, is there a catalyst for that? I'm not so sure, but it is a possibility that we do that. And if that was the case, we'd be looking to run on the 205 high and see if we find resistance there or if we break through it. Still a little ways away from that, but you know how Tesla runs. It could get going quickly. Now, an alternative, bearish possibility is that we dig into this breaker block a little bit, find rejection, come back down into the order block a little bit deeper, right? Test that trend line again, take that low, take these equal lows here, and then probably find us breaking out. I don't think we're going to take this low, but it could also see a very quick and aggressive swipe of the low, where then I think we'd see a big wick, pop back up immediately, and then again make the run to break out of this wedge towards the upside. I don't find us going much lower than 153, 152, 153. And even if we did, I think it'd be quick and aggressive and then rebound fast after that. So we'll see what happens, but we are watching this pattern here of this descending wedge. We are also watching this breaker block that's very important, and we are paying attention to the order block that we just found support at the entry of that order block. Let's jump over to SPY. Did a lot of SPY trading today, mostly running puts. Made quite a bit of money on the SPY trades, multiple hundreds of dollars. Also posted on the Twitter a YOLO trade that I took, which was 100 contracts out of the money. Pulled $1,000 on that trade. Not provided to the premium channel. I just do those for fun. But if you know the direction that the market's heading, sometimes you can take those out of the money calls in a large amount, and you can make a nice premium off of just a small move. So on SPY, what we got going on, we talked about this inverted fair value gap. We talked about this trend line. We've been watching this trend line for a while. We gapped down below it and stayed below it on Friday. Now we've gapped above it and closed above it or closed right on it at close today. So we are inside this inverted fair value gap right now. Okay, right now, as long as this inverted fair value gap holds, we can anticipate shorts making a run on 508.26, which was Friday's low. If we start to close daily candles above the inverted fair value gap, which would be still riding the trend line basically with tomorrow's close, we could maybe by Wednesday we would need to close candles above the inverted fair value gap, but it'd still be riding the trend line. If this inverted fair value gap reinverts and we're trading above it, then we're looking for long positions that are going to take us above 518.50. Okay, as long as this inverted fair value gap holds, because this was a bullish fair value gap that has been actually gapped below, which would make it inverted. As long as we're still inside of this, we can also look for lows to run back down to the 508.26. So SPY right now, technically still in a little bit of sideways action on this trend line within this range of this high and this recent low. And so until we're confirmed, it's not confirmed bearish because we have not had a meaningful market structure shift to the downside. So we'd be just looking to play the range, play the inverted fair value gap, play the trend line until something's confirmed bearish. Now, if we see a market structure shift to the downside, we could start playing more aggressive puts to fill this volume imbalance that came down here from this daily gap. Okay, and then also, alternatively, if we see a displacement candle, and not just a little candle, but a nice displacement candle above this old high, and we see another break of structure here, then we could start more aggressively playing calls to the upside. But right now, we're just kind of playing between this trend and watching these key indicators that we're watching for. Again, trend line, inverted fair value gap, and then the high and low of this recent consolidation range. A little bit different look on Qs. Qs, same trend line, right? Same trend line we've been watching on SPY, but slightly different. It gapped below the trend line and it closed below the trend line, never getting back above. So this definitely looks weaker for Qs, but we also have not still had the market structure shift in the bearish direction. So we will be looking again to see if this trend line holds as resistance. We talked about in the last couple of videos that Q has been looking weaker than SPY. And so we certainly could see this hold as resistance as we tested it today. Maybe trade down, see a market structure shift here into this volume imbalance, right? From there, we might see a little bounce and then come attack some of these lows like 422 or 416. Right, totally possible, and then that it even still sets the stage for a continued rally up. It just would be a break of trend. Now, also possible that tomorrow we pop back over the trend line like SPY did today. Potentially backtest or not, make a run on the high of 448.62, or maybe even higher from there. We'll be watching to see if we get displacement above that old high. If the displacement comes and a fair value gap comes, I would be playing calls on QQQ to head higher, right? And we've talked about on previous videos where that higher would be. I don't have it listed on the chart anymore, but if you use some fib levels, you can look for that 200% extension. We've talked about it on SPY and on QQQ. Let's jump over to NVIDIA. Had a couple trades on NVIDIA. Both of them were nice. Had a $600 trade on NVIDIA today in the premium section as well. Congrats if you caught it. I know that a lot of people don't love to play NVIDIA because it's risky. It can get moving in the wrong direction and you can get down quick. I know I was down like $200 at one point in time on that trade. Ended up $600 up. And so nice trade on there. We had another NVIDIA trade that went for less profit, but also a nice profit on that as well. So you don't have to catch much of a move in order to turn a profit on NVIDIA. But if we're looking at the daily chart, Okay, we've taken out some things. We had this minor trend line that was developing as we started to trade down. We broke above it, tested the high of this breakup candle, and then rejected, found ourselves trading down. We're currently testing that minor trend line. We are inside an order block. If this order block gives out, that becomes a breaker block. If we break below 841.87, give or take, and close a daily candle below that, we'll see a market structure shift. We have this volume imbalance right below, and we have a previous breaker block that we might be looking to target as well. So I do see more downside potential on NVIDIA, mostly because we've already looked at this fib level where we saw a retracement kind of into optimal trade entry. Now we've tested it and rejected it. We're starting to trade down. We're trading down into close. So we'll be looking for more shorting opportunities on NVIDIA, as it looks like this is potentially starting to fall apart. And we have got a lot of downside targets, including this volume imbalance and gap, fair value gaps here along the way. And so definitely looking for a little bit more downside before we potentially make that run on 1,000. And it's no surprise NVIDIA needs to take a little bit of a cool off in order to keep rallying as aggressively as it has been. Now let's jump over to AMD. AMD has a similar look to NVIDIA. Didn't quite get the bounce and the correction that NVIDIA has off the top, but either way, also kind of having a similar downtrend. And so you can see right now, interest to me is this fair value gap on NVIDIA. I would be looking for, on AMD. I would be looking for price to come back into this fair value gap and then potentially down into this volume imbalance. So right now, kind of neutral on the trade because we are sitting here inside of a daily bullish fair value gap, and it's a large one. You can see we've traded down to consequent encroachment, found a little bit of support. Again, would be looking for price to come back up to this bearish fair value gap and then drop down into the volume imbalance, which would be also similar to what we've been talking about on NVIDIA, where we might see NVIDIA, again, start to push down to take some of the sell side targets, some of the imbalances, and some of the other things going on the chart. So definitely watching for this to happen. We also have not seen any kind of bearish market structure shift on the daily chart. And so if we did pop up, hit this fair value gap, come back down, break below this low, that would be a market structure shift there. And then we could, again, anticipate for it to run into this imbalance, maybe even on the low. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. So at this point in time, wouldn't be looking to take calls necessarily into that fair value gap because it could just fade straight down. But I would like to see it bounce up there. And if it did, then you would set your stop loss maybe at this candle open from off the top. I don't know if I'd go so deep as to say, because this is a large rejection block, I don't know if I'd go so deep to say a stop loss at the old high. I'd probably look at stop loss at, I'll give you a level, at 213.38, give or take. And if we ended up popping up through that fair value gap, that would be an inversion anyways. And so I wouldn't be looking to maybe even ride that all the way to stop loss. So I want the short, and I want it inside this fair value gap. Otherwise, I'm not trading AMD at this point. Last thing, we're going to look at Meta. We started to look at Meta falling apart. We saw today Meta had to pop back up into the inverted fair value gap. If we reinvert this fair value gap and we close daily candles above, I would be looking to take longs going into 523.47 to take a potentially new high. Now you can take the short in this inversion of the fair value gap, and if you did, I will show you what that setup looks like. We would take it at consequent encroachment. We would have our stop loss be at this 15-minute liquidity area, give or take, maybe just slightly above it in case it does take that liquidity, right? And we'd have our target down here. This is a 2.22 to 1 reward to risk ratio. There's equal lows here. It would be a likely target to take. You could also target the volume imbalance inside the equal lows all the way to the February 21st candle close. There's a volume imbalance there. If you wanted to run that, you could also run your stop loss a little bit deeper to still maintain the 2 to 1. I would be looking for that to be a multiple week trade, not this week, if you were looking for that deeper run. But if you're just looking for kind of this minimum objective of 476, currently at 496, that could happen this week or sometime next week. Beyond that, I'd be looking at least 2 to 4 weeks out on anything that had a further out target. And I also would not be taking far out of the money calls or puts on this one. Depending on which direction you go, I'd be looking to take in the money or at the money or near the money or something along those lines. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. Again, don't forget to check out the links to the Discord, also to Top Step. If you are interested in becoming a futures funded trader, you got to take the trading combine, and we're happy to help and teach over in the Discord, even if you're just a free member. So don't forget to check out those. I appreciate all the support. I'll see you guys on the next one.